Hold on to your spacesuits. SpaceX is blasting off with a crazy plan. 25 launches a year from Starbase alone. This could totally change space travel and push the limits of what's possible. Let's unpack this wild development on SpaceMinds. Now, firstly, before I start mentioning them, what role do the FAA play in all this, and who are they? The FAA is the Federal Aviation Administration. It's a US government agency under the Department of Transportation. They're basically the air traffic control for all things flying in the United States, from airplanes, helicopters, and other flying machines used for civilian purposes. Think airlines, private jets, and even your local flying club. Safety is their top priority. They make sure airplanes are airworthy, pilots are qualified, and air traffic is managed smoothly to avoid accidents. They set standards for airport design, construction, and operation to keep things safe and efficient. They control the airspace of the United States, including some international waters nearby. They make sure there's enough space for everyone to fly safely. Then comes the bit we're focusing on. They also control launching into space. Well, kind of. While NASA is the main space agency, the FAA also plays a role in space activities. They review and approve launch requests from private companies like SpaceX, making sure their rockets don't interfere with airplanes or pose a safety risk. Now, before we launch, excuse the pun, into the future of space travel, don't forget, we'd really appreciate your support for the channel with a like and a subscribe, so we can feel your astronomical love for our channel. That'll keep us making more videos. That said, let's get into the space travel bit. The FAA just released some juicy details about SpaceX's Starship dreams. They want permission to launch a whopping 25 Starships per year, way up from what they were allowed before. This shows how ambitious SpaceX is about speeding up space exploration. They're not just launching more Starships, they also want to land them 25 times a year. This whole plan is designed to prove how awesome and reliable their new rocket system is. They're also planning upgrades to keep Starship and the Super Heavy booster top-notch for all those missions. Remember, when SpaceX only launched a few Starships a year? Those days are gone. The FAA originally said they could only do 5, then bumped it up to 9. Now, with 25 launches planned, it's clear SpaceX is super confident in their Starship. They want to test it tons of times to get ready for all sorts of missions, from the Moon to Mars. By tripling the launch number, they're not just proving it can be done often, they're setting a new standard for fast, reusable space travel. Before SpaceX zooms off with 1 million launches, the FAA needs to make sure everything is safe. They'll check for things like dangers when flying over people's homes and making sure the cargo on board is all good. They'll also look out for national security to avoid any conflicts. Plus, they'll examine how all these launches might affect the environment, wildlife, and noise levels. The public gets a say too. The FAA will share their plans and listen to what people think. This way, everyone is on the same page about keeping things safe and clean while exploring space. Starbase itself isn't the only place where SpaceX is getting busy. They also want to launch over 100 Starships a year from Florida. They're using 2 launch sites, the famous Kennedy Space Center and Cape Canaveral. They'll see Launch Complex 39A, or LC-39A, as a super important part of their plan, aiming for 44 launches a year from there. They're also turning Space Launch Complex 37, or SLC-37, into a Starship hub, with plans for 76 launches annually. There have been meetings to discuss these ideas, and people have mixed feelings. Some are excited, while others are worried about the environment and how it might affect other launch companies. SpaceX's plan is exciting, but competitors like Blue Origin and ULA aren't thrilled. They're concerned about how many launches will affect their business. They worry about noise, wildlife, and having to wait for SpaceX to launch before they can. This shows how competitive the space industry is, with everyone fighting for their piece of the pie. How these legal challenges play out will be interesting and could set the rules for future space businesses. To make their launch dreams a reality, SpaceX is seriously upgrading their facilities. They're building more launch stuff and improving what they already have, like expanding Starbase and maybe upgrading their Florida sites. The ultimate goal? Launching Starships every single day. To keep up, they're building a giant new Starship factory that uses fancy robots and is totally enclosed to make things run smoothly. They want to make a Starship every 3 days, eventually reaching over 100 per year. In the long run, they might even hit 3 Starships a day. This crazy production speed is key to all their launches and future space missions. Along with making better engines, like the upcoming Raptor 3, all this shows how serious SpaceX is about changing space travel forever. Now, every interplanetary mission depends on an incredible engine. And for SpaceX, they are all very excited about the Raptor 3, but rather than it just be a fancy name I mentioned, let me tell you what's so cool about it. Here's a breakdown of what we know so far. It's more powerful. It's designed to be significantly more powerful than the current Raptor 2 engine. While exact figures for Raptor 3 haven't been confirmed, estimates suggest it could produce over 330 tons, that's around 730,000 pounds, of thrust, compared to Raptor 2's 258 tons, or 570,000 pounds of thrust at sea level. It has increased efficiency. The Raptor 3 is expected to be more efficient than its predecessor, meaning it will get more power out of the same amount of fuel. This translates to potentially lower launch costs and longer range for Starship, improved reliability, and that's crucial for any rocket engine. SpaceX is aiming for the Raptor 3 to be even more dependable than the Raptor 2. This will be essential for the frequent launches envisioned for Starship, especially for missions to Mars. It's got a simplified design. Now, details are limited, but there have been indications that the Raptor 3 may have a simpler internal design compared to the Raptor 2, and this could potentially lead to easier manufacturing and maintenance. The Raptor 3 is still under development, and SpaceX has conducted successful static fire tests with prototypes. However, it hasn't actually been used yet in a real launch. The Raptor engine is crucial for SpaceX's space goals. Right now, they make one a day, but the next-gen Raptor 3 is a game changer. It'll be more efficient, reliable, and perfect for those launches. The engine is obviously essential if they want to launch multiple times a day, which they do need to do to get people to Mars. And Elon Musk doesn't just want to visit Mars, he wants to build a whole city there. And to make that happen, SpaceX needs to launch tons of things and often. As for Elon Musk's crazy plan to build that city on Mars, obviously the Raptor 3 engine and the new Starship factory is how they'll make that dream a reality. But before zipping off to Mars, SpaceX needs to put their Starship through some tough tests. They'll see how it handles moving fuel around in space, super important for long trips, and firing its engines up there too. And these tests are no joke. Dealing with super cold fuel and crazy space temperatures will be a challenge. But if SpaceX aces them, it will be a huge leap forward for future missions. Nailing these tests is key to sending humans way out there, potentially changing how we explore other planets forever. Now it's time for us to touch back down now, so that's all for today. But while you're here, subscribe and stay up to date with the latest in space exploration and technology. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.